Welcome back to Giants Mania. Today we'll be talking about a free agent target, Corey Davis, wide receiver for the Tennessee Titans. So I want to do some videos like this talking about players in free agency that have a realistic chance of going to the Giants. Guys that are not the biggest names, people like Carl Lawson, Curtis Samuel, Yannick Ngakoue, guys that are not going to be franchise tagged in all likelihood. So I want to do videos about those guys. Once the franchise tag period passes, which I think is March 9th, I'm pretty sure, is the last day you can franchise tag a player, we'll do more videos about that. Hopefully, Allen Robinson's out there. Hopefully, Kenny Galladay's out there. But maybe Corey Davis is the best guy out there. We'll find out. Even Chris Godwin might be franchise tagged as well. So leave in the comments which players you want me to go over in the future. I'm not going to waste my time with like Dak Prescott or Aaron Jones or something. That would not make sense. But positions the Giants need and players that should be actual free agents this upcoming offseason. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a like and subscribe if you did, and let's get into it. So Corey Davis, the wide receiver, he's now been in the NFL for 4 seasons. He was drafted 5th overall back in 2017, and has he lived up to that? Not really, and it's not really a fault of his own. We'll go over why later, but he is 6'3", 210 pounds, 26 years old. He's a young 26. He turned 26 in January. So the good parts about him, the positives in his game, his drops have declined in each season. Definitely a big thing. I like seeing that. It's still not perfect. It's a concern, but his drops have been down. He was 8th in yards per route ran, and if you include guys that didn't run 2 or 3 routes, it was actually very high. So according to PFF here, I have it somewhere. The first 3 guys don't really count. Kumaro, Cortland Sutton played 1 game. Devontae Adams was ahead of him. Justin Jefferson, his teammate A.J. Brown, Julio Jones. The next guy, who was technically 5th, was Corey Davis, and he was ahead of guys like Stephon Diggs, Kenny Galladay, Calvin Ridley, Will Fuller, Deebo Samuel, DeAndre Hopkins, DJ Moore, Tyreek Hill, Michael Thomas. It was a good company of guys that he was in front of. So that was very impressive to see from a guy like Corey Davis. So the quarterback rating, when he's targeted, has increased every single year. I think it was 123 was Ryan Tannehill's quarterback rating when targeting Corey Davis this year, which is very good. That's what you want to see. So he made a lot of big plays, down the field often. He had some really nice contested catches. He was a guy that was catching some deep crossers, and it was kind of a product of the offense there. It was play action, deep crossing route. Corey Davis was often open, but sometimes had to make a very tough contested catch. Now, he's more of an X receiver, I would think at least. Play on the line of scrimmage, can get off press coverage, which is what you need, what you want. And the Giants, they kind of need that guy right now. I look at Sterling Shepard as more of a Z type of guy. He will, run some deep routes sometimes. They'll motion him before the snap whenever the Giants do run motion. But I look at him as more of that, and I think Corey Davis would be more of an X type receiver. And of course, the Giants would have to figure out their slot situation because Golden Tate probably won't be here. And Darius Slayton, while I like him, I don't want to rely on him to be one of my top 3 wide receivers. If Darius Slayton's your number 4 wide receiver, you're in a great spot. I just don't want to rely on him to be out there 50, 60 snaps a game. If he's there due to injury or you fill him in sometimes when guys need breathers, that's where I want to be. But I just don't want to play Darius Slayton, who I don't want to say disappointed last year, but didn't take the jump we wanted him to. I don't want to rely on him to be the wide receiver 2 technically for this team. So he knows how to create separation. He's not the best route runner. He's not Keenan Allen. He's not Diggs. He's not Ridley. But it's above average, at the minimum. So he's a good route runner, knows how to get open. He's not afraid to be physical, which I like. He has sneaky yards after catch ability. So Corey Davis is not the fastest guy. He's not going to run a 4.3. He might not, and maybe a high 4.4. But he's not the fastest guy. But does have sneaky yards after catch ability. He'll gain 10, 20 yards after a catch sometimes. He's had some deep yards after catch type runs. He's had a run against the Lions this year where he caught a deep ball, made a guy missing one-on-one and took it in 40 yards by himself basically. So that was nice to see. So he's been pretty durable over his career. I think he played 11 games his rookie year. Then he played 16. Then it was 15. Then it was 14. So we're trending in the wrong direction, but he's been playing 14 games or more the past 3 years, which is nice to see. He can make tough contested catches, I said that before, and can break press, which I mentioned before as well. So that was nice to see. And, a positive for him as well, which I didn't have listed here, is that he played with Marcus Mariota for more than half of his career. That has to be influence as well. And the Titans, and the reason that he's so high in this yards per route ran thing, which is why he was 5th or 8th, whichever way you want to look at it, is because the Titans were one of the like run heaviest teams in the NFL. Like when you have less chances to have catches, Corey Davis, as you can see on the bottom right, had 92 targets. That's not a lot. Like it's a good amount for a wide receiver 2, but wide receiver 1s in the NFL, like when Odell was here, like Antonio Brown in Pittsburgh, Julio Jones, those guys are getting like 150, 160 per year. This guy's getting 92. So it's not like he has the most opportunities to get stuff done. So in a run-heavy offense, he was good when he was targeted. He had like 15 yards per reception. He was, the 8th in yards per route ran. Like he was very efficient, which is what you want to see. He didn't have the most targets, but when he was targeted, he made the most of them, which is what you want to see from a guy like Corey Davis. So the negatives or the concerns, not the most explosive wide receiver, not the fastest. He's just not. I've said before, he's not a 4.2, not a 4.3, probably not even a low 4.4 type of guy. But there's a lot of other aspects to his game which are very good. So he's been inconsistent. I think this past year, he had like 180 yards one game. He had like 140, 150 in another game. Then there's some games where Corey Davis, whether it's his fault or the offense running the ball a lot that game, where he goes for like 20 yards, 30 yards, and like just seems invisible. So like that's a problem. If you're going to sign a guy to wide receiver 1 type money, you want a guy who's more consistent. Now, as I said, I think some of that is product of the offense in Tennessee. I don't think it's all Corey Davis's fault. He never had over 1,000 yards, very close this year. But once again, when you have to pay a guy this much money who has not put the production on paper, it's sometimes hard to do that. And you have to kind of, predict how he'll be for your team in the future. So it's not like a guarantee. Nothing's a guarantee. But a guy who has never had 1,000 yards, it kind of makes you worry a bit. So he played in a much better Tennessee offense. And that's not a shot at the Giants, although it kind of is. But the Tennessee Titans offense, a lot better than the Giants last year. The Giants were 31st in the NFL last year, or 32nd in just about every meaningful category. So unless the Giants take this monumental leap in year 2 of Jason Garrett, the offense is not going to be as good as the Tennessee Titans. So that's like the one downside I would say for that. And he's still not a true wide receiver 1 that we all hope for. I think Corey Davis is a high-end wide receiver 2. I don't look at him as like this wide receiver 1, but I said that James Bradbury last year was a high-end cornerback too. So sometimes it depends the way you scheme these guys and how you use them, and you can make them into much better players. Like coaching is a big thing. And James Bradbury in Carolina for 4 years, whatever it was never a cornerback 1. He wasn't like top 10 in the league, but then the Giants use him the right way when he comes here. A lot of zone coverage. He sees everything in front of him, making good breaks on the football, and all of a sudden James Bradbury, top 5 corner in football. So it's like it depends how you use these guys. So his stats last year, as you see here, 984 yards, had 15.1 yards per reception, which is nice, and a quarterback rating of 123.6 when he was targeted. So I don't know what type of contract he'll be seeking. I did see a report at one point that I think Mike Vrabel, or the GM of the Titans, whoever it is, said that it's not a guarantee basically to sign him or Jonnu Smith, the tight end for the Titans. They basically said if they get their money elsewhere, they're happy for them. So they didn't really make any promises. So Corey Davis will definitely not be franchise tagged, I would say. And if he gets more money elsewhere, then I think I could see him actually leaving Tennessee. So we'll find out what happens. But I think the Giants are possible suitors because the Giants do need that X receiver, a guy who's big and can break press coverage. And Corey Davis, while he's not Plaxico Burress' height, he is 6'3", he's a bigger guy. I think he fit a pretty he would fit a need for this team, which is pretty big. So I wouldn't want to pay him over $15 million per year, but unfortunately in free agency, you're paying A+ money for B, C-level talent players. We saw it with Nate Solder, by the way. But that's what free agency is, and that's why you have to draft well. But if Corey Davis goes for $10 million per year, $11 million per year, I would be fine with that. I wouldn't give him a ton of money, but if the Giants gave him a pretty team-friendly contract, I'm fine with it. So let me know in the comments, what are your thoughts on Corey Davis? Do you really want him? Do you kind of want him? Are you okay with it? Or are you totally against it? So let me know. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Once again, leave a like and subscribe if you did, and I'll talk to you guys for hopefully the next video with like Curtis Samuel or some other wide receiver. So once again, leave in the comments which other players you want me to go over in the future, and I'll talk to you guys next time.